the lady would invite all of her suitors over, because that's what you did back then, and she would sing a love song, and she would make eyes at the one dude or maybe more, to entice them and stuff. It was this whole kind of rich person courting ritual from the 18th century and 19th century. So anyway, that's the origin of the guitar. Then the Spanish started building peasant guitars. That's where the tradition of like the modern guitar comes from, is the Spanish, and so they started building their own guitars that were very simple, that they could build themselves. There was all these new woods coming into Spain from the New World that they could build out of, and they were cheap. They could get these cheap woods, and so they didn't have to like import anything crazy. They could just get these like Spanish cedars and stuff like that. So anyway, then the Spanish kind of brought it back into like kind of the common man's domain, and that's where like flamenco music, and all that stuff. So the history of the guitar is very interesting, but the guitar has always been, for the most part, an urban, well-to-do person's instrument. So in North America, the banjo was the poor man's instrument. In the city, they played guitars. So it's just, it's kind of funny. All these trends, these kind of cultural trends, manufacturing trends, all these things, musical trends that all just kind of play off each other in different classes and different groups of people in different places. And it's the story of the guitar is very interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, there's no radio. Yes. And so Tari, that was another thing when they started printing. If you wanted to buy an album in the 1500s, you bought sheet music. So there was a market in sheet music. And so a lot of the people knew how to play instruments, specifically, again, the women at home knew how to play instruments. And so they were buying sheet music. And that's how you learned songs. That's how popular music was spread, through sheet music. So that's how they sold albums back in the day. So yeah, away to my chamber, exactly. Beige Shirt knows how to do it. Spanish imported Spanish cedar from the New World. Yeah, Spanish cedar isn't actually from Spain. But not for what Spanish cedar is amazing. It is so light, and easy to work with, especially with hand tools. Like there's a reason why the traditional Spanish guitars use Spanish cedar, which is a South American wood. It is so light. It is so nice to carve. It's like mahogany, but way lighter. And it bends really easy. It's just a great material to work with, especially for that style of guitar. The 18th century guitars are made more like lutes. They are solid wood. They're not... the Baroque guitars are segmented pieces, not exactly like the lute, which is a bunch of like segments, like kind of grafted over a mold. That's how they get that shape. The 19th century, 18th century guitars are just a bunch of like elaborate joined wood carved out. They're thicker and stuff. They weren't bending the sides quite yet. I don't think they were doing. The backs were solid pieces of like laminated wood, and the sides were much thicker, very elaborate rosettes. The Spanish, basically, there was a lot of guitar builders at the time, but like the Spanish guitar was taking kind of like violin making practices of bending sides